This morning, a second Al Franken accuser came forward. She says that he inappropriately touched her while posing for this photo at the Minnesota State Fair in 2010 while he was senator. Now, is this going to continue to create a fervor? Do you think there are more folks out there? What should he resign? What should he do?
I thought it was an odd thing. I have no reason not to believe the girl. You know, but when in 2010, I had another show on CNN's channel HLN, and I asked Frank, because I have Franken to come on. I know him very well, and he said, I can't come on your show yet because I have to make sure that I'm not funny. You know, I'm a senator now. I've got to be serious. So I can't believe that he was so what's the word, careless, as to do something like that when he was the senator already, having been so cautious about being funny.
Right.
Yeah.
It just...
Well, I think a lot of people are reacting to, like, party affiliation with this and equating them all. I'm sure after the show you saw some of the social media people saying, oh, so you are fine with one party but not the other. I think you have to remove...
Well, I'm not following you.
Like a political affiliation, like Roy Moore versus an Al Franken.
Right.
And to me...
Two different things.
Very different things. That's my point here, is that I think you can't paint with broad strokes on this. It's... someone telling me I have a nice butt, and then someone grabbing my butt, and then someone assaulting me. Those are three very different situations. And as a thinking individual, when you watch this, you have to assess for yourself. All the victims are victims, and if they felt unsafe or not okay, that is to be believed and to be listened to. But you can't then put them all in the same barrel of punishments of kick them all out, don't let them live. This is a spectrum.
Well, his accusations are not exerting power over these women, so that's a very big distinction.
Well, and I honestly think you can't put Roy Moore in the category when you're talking about someone with underage girls. I don't think you can put that just in an assault category. This is something that I would have a difficult time being okay with.
I'm just concerned that these allegations are coming up over and over and over again. And I've said often on this show, this is not a partisan issue. Sexual harassment, sexual assault is all of our issues, right? And so it shouldn't be divided that way. But to ask him to resign, I don't know if that's the appropriate response either. I mean, no senator has been asked to resign ever. The last time someone was expelled from the Senate, I think it was like 155 years ago. And so, but what is the response? What do you do when you have a sitting senator or a sitting president having been accused of some sort of sexual immorality?
Didn't people used to do investigations?
Yes, and Senator Franken has called for an ethics investigation.
You know, I mean, look, you know, the behavior is unconscionable, but I do think, because we have seen so many different responses to things, that it would be probably a really good idea for us to take a breath and start investigating stuff.
I agree.
You know, because I just feel like there's so much coming that I don't want it to fall by the wayside so that someone doesn't have their day in court to say, this is what he did to me, this is when it happened, this is what I've been telling people. I want people to be able to do that. And I get nervous because, you know, we spent some time with the Central Park Five when their documentary came out, which said it wasn't true. It wasn't them. And these kids spent years in prison. So we have to. It's like we don't want to put people to death who are innocent. You know, and we're very reluctant, as you know, sometimes to put people to death at all.
But
you know, but I just think that, you know, that to lose this ability to have folks who are making the accusations be able to make these in open court and get their justice done. I don't want to see that disappear.
Except it is, he said it's really the
this one is
the court of public opinion more than an actual court.
Yes, but the court of public opinion isn't always correct.
No, well, Franken has said he didn't remember taking the photo with this new accuser, Lindsay Mentz, and that he felt badly, that she felt disrespected. So he's not really admitting it, he's not denying it, but he did admit that the other behaviors were inappropriate, and
he did
that
not
person
admit that he kissed that girl. He didn't.
Yeah, no.
He only is admitting to the photograph.
To the photo.
He had no choice. The
And,
photograph is
and he's
there.
apologized for it, and he accepted that apology. So where do we
when
go?
you're the victim, you won't forget a detail because you feel uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Whereas it's not surprising some of these men remember it differently because at the time, whether they were justifying it or didn't see it as bad, it's not as indelible in their memory.
But why is it happening so much? Is it that it's always been happening and women aren't talking about it?
It's that we're catching up for decades of silence.
That's what I think
I'll
it
say
is.
this, if Franken has to resign, then Trump needs to resign because he's just as guilty of harassing women, and he has 16 accusers so far.
Yeah.
And, you know, when you listen to the Republican Party, what they're saying is Roy Blunt, senator from wherever he's from, somebody will tell me maybe. Alabama. Said that, well, the Trump thing, well, listen, the voters have spoken. They knew about these allegations, and they still voted for him. That has nothing to do with ethics and morality and what the president allegedly did. And President Clinton was impeached correctly, and probably, as Gillibrand says, Senator Gillibrand, he should have resigned.
No, I'm sorry, that's ridiculous. Because when someone resigns, everything gets put under the carpet. He needed to go through exactly what he went through. He needed to have to fess up to whatever was going on at the time. And to say he should have resigned makes no sense.
Well, she's talking about it with what we know now. It's sort of like in hindsight,
well,
with the sort of thing that's happening.
In hindsight, I shouldn't have eaten all those potato chips.
Yeah, exactly.
But he paid the price, though, right? I mean, if we're talking about Bill Clinton, he paid the price. What has been striking to me with Donald Trump is 16 women have come forward and have accused him of varying behavior, of varying degree. He himself has said you can grab women by the genitals and you know get away with it. Why haven't we heard more from these women? Why are people talking about it?
I want to hear more from them. I know these other stories better because they've been painting the news cycle.
I would love
so I
to
know
hear
what happened
more.
with Franken. I know what happened with Roy Moore. I don't know all of this.
It's a little suspicious that we haven't heard from them.
I would love to hear from them.
I think we heard quite a bit from them.
Not lately.
Then, well, no, not lately, because if you recall, I do believe there was sort of a kind of veiled
threat of lawsuits.
Of lawsuits. And quite honestly, you know, listen, we're hearing a lot of different stuff from a lot of different people. And I think probably a lot of these women don't want to be judged anymore.
Yeah.
And I think that's why a lot of women don't come forward, don't say stuff, because they feel people are going to judge them. Maybe they should just you know, because he felt comfortable enough bringing the accusers of Bill Clinton, maybe the next speech he gives, they should just stand with signs.
But Trump also, he also threatened to sue these women.
Yes.
Oh, I'm going to sue them. You know what? He doesn't want to sue them because if it's a lawsuit, they will really be telling things that he doesn't want out there. And that's why he hasn't done it.
We'll be back with more Hot Topics.
Still ahead.
You know, on this subject, evangelicals apparently want Roy Moore in Alabama. They're willing to overlook the sex scandal that Senate candidate Roy Moore is dealing with right now. That's who you meant, right? Roy Moore and not...
No, I said Roy Blunt,
right,
who was a senator from Missouri.
Okay.
She misunderstood.
I thought you said Moore.
All right. And they say that with Moore, even if he's guilty, they want a Republican in that seat. So does morality matter anymore in politics?
I hate this. I just think it's ridiculous to put your party before your country, to put your party before morality. It bothers me so much. I mean, morality is not a partisan issue. And we were talking about it earlier. The Public Religion Research Institute said that moral rectitude wasn't as important to evangelical voters as it once was. 61% of Americans say immoral personal behavior doesn't preclude public officials from carrying out their public or professional duties with honesty and integrity.
Let me ask this, because, you know, they're worried about judges, so they're clearly worried about somebody's immoral behavior. They're worried about whether I'm going to want to get an abortion.
Right.
They're worried whether I'm going to want to get...
IUD?
No, birth control.
Sorry,
I just remember they were little pills. I just remember they were little pills at one point. And yet, they're not willing to allow me to make decisions for myself.
No.
So they're really voting on morality.
They're voting on what they see as my immoral.
Yes.
And so
if they don't see child molestation as immoral, then what is the point of religion? I'd like to know.
Yeah. Well, I think part of what enrages me about Roy Moore And I've never been a fan, I don't think any of us have, of this man before he was elected, this is a man that's compared people who are gay to animals. Sex with animals, he believes the criminalization of being gay. He also, as you mentioned, with pro-choice, he has all these values based in a moral campaign, and yet you can turn your head when he's preying on underage girls. To me, the idea that you can see, that bothers me more than someone that never claimed to be good at all. Someone that says, I'm writing on this campaign, and yet some of this is okay and other
It's
bits
kind
are
of
not.
consistent, though, in a way, when you think of a lot of these people who are anti-choice. They're very big on the fetus, but as soon as the child is born, they don't vote for additional help for the mother and the child.
They don't want to pay for it.
No, they won't pay for that. But
they just want to fight for the rights.
So they're really only interested in you before you're born. Once you're born, you're on your own.
Well,
I don't know, Joy.
That might be
that is what it is, Sonny. It is what it is. You say to folks, well, are you willing to raise this kid that you're demanding I have?
I certainly think that there are evangelicals that need to pay more attention to not only unborn children, but children that are alive.
Hold on.
Well,
and we are not talking about every evangelical.
Exactly.
We just want to be very, there are a lot of folks
that was my point.
Who are willing to have this conversation and who are very upset with what Roy Moore has done. What we're talking about is really that kind of, that zealot.
Yes,
you know?
I don't think you can group all people of faith together in that way.
No, that's why I made that comment.
But
you all heard me, right?
Yeah.
Like,
so
it's implicit in what we're saying that we mean some.
But it also starts before birth, because when you talk about the birth control versus abortions, we're not paying for medical care for poor people, a lot of poor people that get services. But then,
she's got
go.
Okay, go ahead.
We'll be right back.
Cutting off the...
I wanted to make back. You know, this sorry state of politics right now had me feeling really nostalgic over the weekend. And SNL totally felt me. Take a look.
Every night, I turn the TV on and cry. I cry. I say why. I feel like we're all...
Of how many times when they were rehearsing they
I am hoping that this ends up on the charts.
Yes.
Because I want to hear people just on the train, come back around. Listening on their earphones. I mean, it was really well done, and I thought this one they hit out of the park.
Yeah, Chance the Rapper.
Chance the Rapper, you rock.
He did it.
And you know what else rocks? I don't know if you guys know about this, but I went to the Big Apple Circus on Sunday, and I was so happy. They're celebrating their 40th anniversary. I don't know if you remember, but the Big Apple Circus went bankrupt. And shut down. And a wonderful physician and several of his friends decided they were going to bring it back. And it's over on... it's right here by Lincoln Center. And I have to tell you, it's a great place to go with a date. I saw a lot of couples, and it's a great place for little kids, little I took Charlie Rose, my great-granddaughter, and she actually was great. The Wallendas are there, the guy who walked across Niagara Falls. I mean, it's amazing.
It's good.
And I'm thinking I'm going to ask one of them, the guy who is the ringmaster, because he kept saying, he needs a night off. And I just...
Well, if you are ringmaster...
that if he did it, I would like to do a ringmaster thing. And if they say yes, okay, then we'll let you know, and maybe you'll come out and support. But take the family. It really was a great time.
Circus.
It's a great time.
It is a good circus.
Yeah. And the holiday season is here, which means parties, dinners, gifts, all that kind of stuff. It usually follows with the thank you note. Yeah, okay. Do you make it a point to send a thank you note? Does it bug you when you don't get one?
It's so easy now to email a thank you note that it really you'd be remiss not to say that was a great dinner and what have you.
I do it, but I don't think that you should require one. I mean, John Wooten, this poet, said, you can't live a perfect day without doing something for someone who can never repay you. And I think we need to be in that headspace. When you do something for someone or give someone something, you don't need to expect the thank you. It's nice to get it, but it's just the giving. I don't know.
short little nugget. I just heard from 2 friends that went through a family loss, and a couple people communicated they were upset that they never got thank yous about. And to me, even if I'm a thank you person, I agree. You never sit back and wait for it coming. Like, I think you do it with.
It just feels good to do it.
That is really obnoxious.
It's so obnoxious.
So they go to pay their respects for someone
and
who
helped
died.
brought food and everything during a tough time and waited by their mailbox for a thank you.
I mean,
well, I have to say, you know, I wrote thank you. I wrote thank you notes.
Yeah.
I didn't email them. I wrote them because, you know, when people take time out of their life to come and sit with you, you want to say, listen, I wasn't really present and stuff, but I do want you to know I know you were there.
Yeah.
And so to me, sometimes it's okay to say, hey, thanks for being there for me. I recognize that you were there. I know. You see what I'm getting right there?
oh.
And in the old days, you get that, you know, you start with the... We'll be right back.
Viewers at home, it's your last chance to try and add $5,000 to your holiday budget. Go to our Facebook page by 5 p.m. Eastern today to find out how to enter for the chance to win, and tune in tomorrow to see if you're $5,000 richer.
Ooh,
that's small change.
Well, just think of the restaurants you can take people to if you're $5,000 richer. What do I mean by that? Well, apparently, when women go out with their friends and talk about sex, the #1 topic is whether it was satisfying or not, followed by where they did it and how long it lasted.
It sounds almost like they're auditioning to go out with their husband.
Yeah, I mean, why would... well, somebody said, well, I think Audrey said the other day, why would you ever tell somebody how great you have it to encourage them to kind of sidle up to your husband? I mean, it just seemed a little strange.
I never thought of that.
Yeah.
You undersell.
Yeah.
I think, though, men are surprised that women talk so much about sex when they're together.
I'm surprised women talk so much about sex.
My friends talk about it a lot. I don't share my
I talk
personal
big
stuff.
game, like I joke a lot, but when it comes to that stuff, I really...
Yeah.
I
you
get
know
really
my friends,
prudish.
they talk about it.
You know, when I was really having it a lot, I never talked about it. Now...
Now it's not relevant.
Now I talk about it because it's
So I
not
think
that
you're
often.
never going to believe what happened last night.
Yeah, you'll
tips.
never know.
You get good tips from friends.
Well, if
No,
you're
you don't.
concerned-
Your friends are trying to mess your life up. So that when you come to the table and you go, yeah, well, you'll never know how many or where or when I'm doing whatever I'm doing. You'll never, ever know.
But I don't want to see my friend in sexual visuals either. Like,
Yeah,
I'm going to be
no.
looking and be like,
But what if they're giving you good tips?
Sonny, I don't need to see the things you do at home every time I look at you. Like,
I don't know.
You are scaring me with
Some
this
of-
good tip
some of
thing
the
because
tips-
you're making me think like you don't know anything.
I don't.
Yeah,
That's
okay.
a
Some of
lie.
the tips are good.
Yeah,
I've gotten
uh-huh.
good
Friends with Regina. I know you're...
Regina gives good tips.
I think it's a game of compare and contrast. Are they doing it better? It's all about comparing how you...
But
are
how do you
doing.
know who's telling you the truth?
Well, you don't.
You don't. Okay, so there you go. We'll be right back. There you go. So much scandal and deception happening on Designated Survivor right now. It's almost kind of like the real thing. Please welcome a guy I adore for many, many moons, the fabulous Kiefer Sutherland. Hanging out with the girls. I won't even ask you the question everybody wants to know.
Which is what?
Well, no, because I just
Now I
say
wanna know.
now you want to know.
What's the-
No, we'll ask you after. Yes, I will. So what's new, babe?
Well, I'm actually on strict orders from my father. My father was given an honorary Academy Award.
I know.
Great.
Do you call him the Donald?
No, we do not. We call him Dad. And Whoopi gave a speech in the presentation of this award, and he was so moved by it, and he knew you and I were friends.
Yeah.
And I wanted to bring my phone out because it was quite a long text that he gave me, but it's actually unfortunately in the car. But he really wanted me to tell you thank you, and it was such a nice night. And actors like my father, they don't work for awards and they don't work for that kind of thing.
No.
But when you actually have a moment where you are honored by your peers and people you respect and people that you admire, it's profound how much that matters. And your speech, he just said, you have to thank her. And he gave me a list. He gave me a list of things that I had to tell you, and I will tell you later. But on behalf of my father and the rest of my family, thank you for your beautiful speech.
Coming up, you grew up in Canada, but you raised your kids here. Are you one of those families that do a big thing for Thanksgiving?
Yeah,
Oh.
and we always have. In fact, we shoot Designated Survivor in Toronto, and Canadian Thanksgiving is in October because it's
So you get two?
a little colder there.
Yeah.
No, because they don't honor the American Thanksgiving, obviously. So it's the first 2 years that I've missed it. But our family is quite spread around, and it's the one time that we all come together. And the most fun I think we ever had, my youngest daughter Sarah went to university here. What's that?
Beautiful name.
Yeah.
Cheers. She went to university here in New York, and so we all came here. And we would have these amazing Thanksgivings that took a week to recover from. And but it was fantastic. And so yeah, I think for me, even more than Christmas, it was the holiday that the family really came together for.
I love it.
Yeah.
You know what else I love? Designated Survivor. It's back for its second season, and of course you play President Kirkman, a man who never planned to have the job. Now, earlier we were talking about whether or not morality is required in a leader. Do you have any thoughts on that?
I think morality is required for life.
Yes.
I think it's... And for anybody who doesn't think that, they should look up the word. Morality is the basis of every decision that you make.
Yes.
It is the moral compass that you have that teaches you or represents what you believe to be right or wrong.
Yeah.
So the idea that you can function without it is really concerning.
Yes, to say the least.
Low these days, isn't it?
I wouldn't want to limbo.
We have
Good one.
We have a clip. What are we going to see about Designated Survivor? The clip that you brought.
Well,
see him doing the limbo.
This is a clip, I believe, from episode 10, which is going to air not this week, but the week after. And the president goes to Afghanistan to acknowledge the troops, and a certain number of things happen to make the episode exciting.
Oh, let's take a look.
And for people who may not know what the Designated Survivor is, explain to the...
Well, it's interesting because I can't even figure out why I actually knew this when I read the script.
Right.
I watch a lot of the History Channel, and for some reason I did. But in the line of succession for the presidency, in case of a catastrophe, and this was written into the Constitution, and I think they were really worried about fires 200 years ago, that the Congress House was built out of wood, and if there was another revolution or something were to happen and everybody in the standing government was wiped out, they would have one representative that was not allowed at the meeting, so that they would continue the presidency. And we've done this, I think, really out of respect for our history, not ever imagining that something like that could happen. In the case of our show, a terrible bombing does take place at the Capitol building, wipes everybody out, and my character becomes president overnight.
So if it happened, God forbid, here, Sean Spicer would be the Designated Survivor.
No, he would not.
He's not allowed in the meeting.
Actually, it would be Ben Carson.
Yeah.
It would be Ben Carson.
Oh, no, not Dr. Carson.
Oh, my
It would be
God.
Dr. Carson.
Is there anything, in doing the show, someone told me that you learned something about George Washington that was interesting. Do you remember what it was?
Well, we have an amazing set. And I have to say, when you walk into the Oval Office, it still makes you stand up straight, even though it's not the real one. But the history, the reverence that you have for that office is, and there are paintings all over. And our production people are fantastic that design this,
Right.
and they tell you stories about everything. But George Washington was quite a romantic guy after his wife passed away.
Right.
And so was the only...
that what they called it then?
Yes. And so was the only painter in Washington. And they competed for a lot of the same girls.
Really?
And George Washington had fake teeth, but he was actually quite handsome. But the
Right.
painter would only do his portrait if he put his wooden teeth in,
really?
which
Oh,
made his face change and made him less attractive. And so I always thought that that was really funny.
You know, it's competition no matter where you go.
That's right.
You know, Kiefer, you're always welcome here. You just, we just love hanging with you. When is the band coming back, too?
Well, thank you very much. Whenever you want us.
Don't even say that, because it's going to happen sooner than you think. Thanks to Kiefer Sutherland. Don't play the music. Designated Survivor airs Wednesday nights, 10 p.m. right here. We'll be right back.
Hey.